Shana Tova and Shabbat Shalom to all of you. Good Yantav, Happy New Year. All of you here in the sanctuary. Truly is a blessing to have all of you here, along with my holiday choir, led by the Foundation to Combat Anti-Semitism for their hashtag Stand Up to Jewish Hate. And they put out some commercials. We actually had another Matthew Berger. I think his name is Matthew E. Berger, as opposed to me. I'm Matthew L. Berger. Via teleconference for a wonderful and meaningful session on anti-Semitism. So just to note that. And a special welcome to all of you who are joining us in the live stream. Welcome one and all. We are going to begin our service in Mishkan HaNefesh, which means dwelling place of prayer in the Rosh Hashanah book, on page 110, as the choir will lead us in the singing of Lewandowski's Ma Tovu. How beautiful are your tents, Yaakov, your dwelling places, Yisrael. We'll now turn to page 9 in our High Holiday Prayer Book for a reading, and all the readings you'll be able to find on the screen as well. This one's called The Time Is Now. The time is now, we've gathered round, so bring all your gifts and bring all your burdens with you. No need to hide, arms open wide. We gather as one to make a makom kadosh. We come to tell, we come to hear. We come to teach, to learn. We come to grow, and so we say, the time is now. Sing to the one. God's presence is here. Shekhinah, you will dwell among us. We'll make this space a holy place, so separate, so whole. Rejoice every soul who enters here. My pleasure now to call forward two members of our wonderful sisterhood, Ava Lawrence and Marlene Wayne, who will be helping us with the brachot, the blessings for the Shabbat and Yom Tov holiday candles. You'll find the liturgy on page 11.
Shel Shabbat Shel Yom Tov. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, teaching us holiness through sacred obligations, giving us the mitzvah of bringing light on Shabbat and this festival. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam shehekianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Source of blessing, eternal our God, you fill the universe with majestic might, giving us life, upholding the life within us, and bringing us to this time.
Keep us far from all shame, grief, and anguish. Fill our home with peace, light, and joy. Oh God, fountain of life, by your
My pleasure now to call forward David Bernstein. He will be sounding the shofar in a few moments as we turn to page 15 in our prayer books. At the new moon, at the full moon, for our feast day, sound the shofar. For that is the law of Israel, the way of Jacob. I'd like to ask all of you to rise if you're able as we hear the sound of the shofar. First, the blessing. Baruch atah Adonai shomea kol truah amo Yisrael berachamim. Blessed are you in our lives, Adonai. You hear with love the shofar, true voice of your people Israel. Tekiah. Please remain standing. My pleasure to call Steve and Carol Sussner to help us open the ark as we continue on page 16 with a reflection. Here I am, one soul within this prayer community. Like those around me, I bring my own concerns and yearnings to this place, hoping they will find expression in the time-hallowed words of my people and in the traditions cherished by generations before me. May I bring the best of my energies to these holy days, approaching this spiritual work with open heart and mind, sincerity and sustained focus on the deep questions of this season. Who am I? How shall I live? Where have I fallen short or failed? This night I take up the challenge of the days of awe, cheshbon hanefesh, a searching examination of my life, a moral inventory of my deeds, words, and thoughts. During the next 10 days, let me face the truth about myself and listen to your still small voice, taking comfort in your promise that I am always free to change, released from staleness and routine. Let me know the joy of beginning again. May I gain strength as I share this task with those around me, united by our common purpose. Tikkun midot, improving our characters, and tikkun olam, repairing the world. I now prepare myself to pray, one soul amidst this holy congregation. Turning to page 19, we'll be announcing the new year. Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu yehi ratzon shenizkeh levirchotecha bishnat chameshet alafim shmonim ve'arba. God of our ancestors, may we know your blessings in the year 5784. Eternal One, bless us in the whole house of Israel with renewed life, happiness, and peace. comfort and courage, resilience and strength. May the words of our heart be acceptable to you in the new year that stretches before us. We are forever grateful for the gift of life. We'll continue with an evening prayer, Ma'ariv Aravim, found on the bottom of page 23. I'll invite you to join me. The quickening of the moon calls us to return, and we gather, seam dwellers on the edge of the earth. As the sun lowers itself into the sea, introspection rises. A silver cracks the heart of the firmament, the vast blackness and invitation to right ourselves anew. Baruch atah Adonai hama'ariv aravim. Blessed are you, Adonai, creator of twilight and dusk. On page 24, we'll continue with a prayer, love for the world. Love beyond all time and space. Your love enfolds your people, Yisrael. We receive it in your teaching, your gift of Torah, sacred obligations, discipline, and law. So let us speak these teachings when we lie down and rise up, and find joy forever in your Torah and mitzvot. They are the very essence of our life, ours to ponder and study all our days. May we never lose or be unworthy of your love. Baruch atah Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. For you are blessed, the one who loves your people, Yisrael. At long last, you may be seated. We'll continue with the words of the V'ahavta, the continuation of the Shema on page 28 and page 30. I'll invite you to join me in the chanting of the Hebrew. V'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol me'adecha V'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi mitzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam v'shivtecha b'veitecha uvlechtecha v'derech Uvshochtecha, uvkumecha, ukshartam leot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot bein einecha, uchtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, uvisharecha, leman tizkeru, vasitem et kol mitzvotai, vitem kedoshim leloechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem, Asher Hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim, liot lachem le'Elohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem. My pleasure now to call forward Rob and Tell. He'll be leading us in the English translation. If you turn back to 28, that's the beginning of You Shall Love.
You shall love Adonai, your God, with all your mind, with all your soul, and with all your strength. Set these words which I command you this day upon your heart. Teach them faithfully to your children. Speak of them in your home and on your way, when you lie down and when you rise up. Bind them as a sign upon your hand. Let them be a symbol before your eyes. Inscribe them on the doorposts of your house and on your gates.
Thank you so much, Rob. We'll continue now on page 33 with a reading at the bottom of the page. I'll invite you to join me in these words of Emet ve'emunah, truth and faith. You have stayed long enough in this place, God said. Time to go forward. Turn your face to the future. Cross this sea and survive. Inside you is a Moses. Within you, Miriam dances, unafraid. Lift up your voice and sing a new song. Mi chamocha, who is like you. Mocha b'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Pleasure now to call forward Emily Mesa-Gleason. She'll be leading us in a reading on page 37 called Rosh Hashanah in the Pines.
Darkness settles slowly across the horizon. The new year rises before us, its fragile moon awaiting embrace.
Continue now with the words of the Tefillah, our standing prayers. I'll invite all of us to rise as we continue on page 42, asking God to open our lips.
Adonai,
continue with Kiddushat Hashem, God's holiness, on page 49. Ata kadosh v'shimcha kadosh, kadoshim b'cho yom yahalucha sela. You are holy, your name is holy. Seekers of holiness, praise you day by day. Selah. Feel free to be seated as we continue on page 59 with a reading called Coming Home, a portion of Torah that is ours. Feel free to join me if you'd like. Once there was a prince who sailed to faraway countries. Many years passed, and at last the prince thought of coming back. For a moment, he felt shame. He had been away so long, so much time had passed since he last saw his home. Then he said to himself, I must not be ashamed to come back. After all, it is to my own ancestral property that I return. So it is with us, no matter how far we have wandered from the Torah, it remains our own possession. For Scripture says Moses charged us with this teaching as the heritage of the congregation of Jacob. Each of us has our own portion of the Torah. It belongs to us. And when we take up the study of Torah, we are coming home. And the words to Adonai Eloheinu on page 60. I have to say, I've always loved that composition by Stephen Richards. Absolutely gorgeous. Great job, Allison and the choir. We'll continue now on page 65. Right at the top of the page, there's a reading on faith. Feel free to join me. I want to write about faith, about the way the moon rises over cold snow, night after night. Faithful even as it fades from fullness, slowly becoming, at last curving an impossible sliver of light before the final darkness. But I have no faith myself. I refuse it even the smallest entry. Let this then, my small poem, like a new moon, slender and barely open, be the first prayer that opens me to faith. And we'll continue with our prayer of peace, Shalom Rav, found on 66. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha tasim leolam. Peace, profound and lasting, all-embracing, peace, let this be your gift to Israel, your people. In your goodness, author of peace, bless us in all people, every season, every hour, with the peace that is yours to give. Let us and the whole family of Israel be remembered and inscribed in Sefer HaChaim, the book of life. May it be a life of goodness, blessing, and prosperity. May it be a life of peace. Baruch atah Adonai, Osei HaShalom. You are the Blessed One, eternal source of shalom. For our silent reflection, choir will be singing on page 68, the meditation, Elohai Netzor Lishonei Me'ra, keep my tongue from doing harm. Let's turn now to words of healing and the Misha Barak prayer that you'll find on the screens, as well as within the Torah service on page 245 in Mishkan HaNefesh, dwelling place of prayer. So we call to mind and to heart members of our community and beyond who are in need of healing. Think of Jacqueline Albin, Joanne Beeman Fiddleman, Yonatan Ruven Ben Rivka, Charlie Burke, Harry Bronstein, Babs Brown, Peggy Bruno, Tina Bruns, Stephen Drenay, Norman Fiddleman, Harry Fleisch, Marcia Friedman, Denise Freifeld, Mitchell Freifeld, Sidel Freifeld, David Friedlander, Lee Grubman, Don Hirschman, Jim Howard, Kathy Howard, Ken Mercereau, William Miller, Alan Muirhead, Cole Montgomery, Michael Renzino, Bob Rosen, Stephanie Ross, Carol Sabani, Albert Schaefer, Dennis Schulman, Angela Sermenis, Jeff Stark, and Michelle Slaza. If there are any names that you'd like to add, feel free. My pleasure now to call Robert and Jory Masarski to open the Ark. The liturgy for Avinu Malkeinu begins on page 74. I'll ask all of us to rise as the Ark is opened and we can see the beautiful white Torah mantles. Avinu Malkeinu, strong was the faith of generations before us. In exile, they proclaimed enduring hope. In the shadow of persecution, they affirmed a transcendent love and compassion. Ours is a different age, less confident and certain, more tentative in its trust. There are many who say to the works of their hands, "You are our God." But when our worship centers on our own creations, we feel less gratitude, more doubt, and despair. This is the paradox of our spiritual lives. We grow smaller in self-exaltation, nobler when we reach for you. On this night of return, let us find the humility to come close to you and open ourselves to your presence. For you are absent only when we fail to make room for you in our hearts, distant only when we turn away from you. Now, as others have done before us, let us overcome doubt and speak these words of affirmation. Please join me. We call you Avinu. As loving parent, forgive our wrongs and failings. Accept us in our human frailty. We call you Malkeinu. As sovereign of souls, help us rise from our brokenness to build a world of shalom. To this vision, we offer ourselves. On 76, Avinu Malkeinu, Ein Lanu Melech Ela Ata. Avinu Malkeinu, Almighty and merciful, you alone are our sovereign. Avinu Malkeinu lema'ancha rachem aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, for your sake, show us mercy. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh imanu lama'an shmecha. Avinu Malkeinu, act toward us as befits your name. Avinu Malkeinu, shalach rufuah shlema lecholei amecha. Avinu Malkeinu, bring healing and wholeness to the ill among us. Avinu Malkeinu, kira roa gizar dinenu. Avinu Malkeinu, allay the harshness of the decree against us. Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu besefer geula v'shua. Avinu Malkeinu, inscribe us in the book of redemption and renewal. Avinu Malkeinu, zochrenu bezichron tov lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, remember our goodness and call it to mind. Avinu Malkeinu, aseh lema'ancha v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, act for your sake and save us. Avinu Malkeinu, shema kolenu. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, hear our voice. Avinu Malkeinu, chatanu lefanecha. Avinu Malkeinu, we have strayed and sinned before you. Avinu Malkeinu, chamol aleinu ve'al olalenu v'tapenu. Avinu Malkeinu, have compassion on us and our families. Avinu Malkeinu, kalei dever v'cherev v'ra'av me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the onslaught of sickness, violence, and hunger. Avinu Malkeinu, kalei kol tsar umastin me'aleinu. Avinu Malkeinu, halt the reign of those who cause pain and terror. Avinu Malkeinu, kotvenu besefer chayim tovim. Avinu Malkeinu, enter our names in the book of lives well lived. Avinu Malkeinu, chadash aleinu shana tova. Avinu Malkeinu, renew for us a year of goodness. Avinu Malkeinu, chonenu va'anenu, ki ein banu ma'asim, aseh imanu, tzedakah v'chesed v'hoshienu. Avinu Malkeinu, almighty and merciful, answer us with grace, for our deeds are wanting. Save us through acts of justice and love.
Shema kolenu.
There's a story that's been told for decades at Hebrew Union College Jewish Institute of Religion, the Reform Rabbinic Seminary, where I was ordained in 2003. Alumni tell the story to budding rabbis, and fourth and fifth year students tell the story to their younger colleagues. Since the early 1900s, rabbinic students at the Cincinnati campus, where I was ordained, have traveled to very small congregations throughout our nation's heartland. In most cases, the students spend 1 year at their first pulpit, but in some cases, students can return for a second year. A student pulpit is like a real-life classroom. Here, rabbis in training hone their skills leading services, giving sermons, teaching, and making pastoral calls. The experience is quite authentic because for the congregants, regardless of their age, student rabbis are likely their only interaction with a rabbi of any kind. When I was in rabbinical school, I served 2 small congregations. The first was in Newark, Ohio, City of Progress, a small city about 30 miles east of Columbus in Ohio. The second was a bit more of a schlep in Texarkana, Texas. I had a suit there called Edge of Texas because it was right on the line. Both were very memorable experiences. The arrangement, however, did pose a problem during the seminary's early years because way back then, at the time, students didn't spend their first year of rabbinical school like I did in Jerusalem studying. Also, students came to the seminary straight out of high school. This meant that back then, first-year students had no experience whatsoever in preparing sermons. And since the fall semester usually started about a week or so before the high holidays, there was usually little time to prepare. Under this pressure, the seminary actually provided its students with a book of sermons from which they could choose an appropriate message for Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. I'm serious. And believe it or not, many students would read through the sermon book while en route to their student congregations. They could do this because a long, long time ago, they traveled to these pulpits by train. But don't worry, the seminary hasn't provided sermons for its students for about 100 years. According to legend, there was one small congregation in Indiana that enjoyed the vitality of having a new student rabbi every year. Unfortunately, every single one of them, year after year, played it real safe and chose the very first sermon in the book. Finally, after Yom Kippur one year, the president of the congregation sent a letter to the seminary. Quote, "Here, dear Hebrew Union College president," the letter said, "next year would you kindly send the same rabbi with a different sermon?" The same rabbi with a different sermon. Perhaps that's what many of us look for when we come to synagogue on the new year. Even if the central themes of Yamim Noraim, the days of awe, looking inward, being grateful, striving to do better, remain the same. Well, as they say, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So here we are, the beginning of a new Jewish year, 5784. Since the days of the Talmud some 2,000 years ago, Rosh Hashanah has been celebrated as the birthday of the world. It literally means head of the year. On this day, we recall the story of creation, from waters that nourish us to the sun, moon, and stars, from flora to fauna, and finally, humankind. During this season, we also focus on growth, renewal, and the importance of gathering as a community. Like all the Jewish holidays, Rosh Hashanah begins with a fairly simple description in the Torah. The book of Leviticus describes this sacred day as Yom Truah, a day to hear the sound of the shofar or ram's horn. From there, Jewish sages developed the specifics on how to observe the holiday. Over time, though, many prayers, poems, and parables have made a direct link between the natural world and our own personal growth, which is fitting for this time of year. In one of them, we learn about a Hasidic rabbi named Nachman of Bratslav, a leader who would regularly teach about the ways that people and Jews can connect with nature. In one prayer, Nachman of Bratslav asks, "Master of the universe, may it be my custom to go outdoors every day among the trees and grass, among all growing things. There I'll express the words of my heart. May the foliage awake at my coming." The image of trees, in particular, has always played a very important role in Jewish thought, both then and now. The Giving Tree, written in 1964 by Shel Silverstein, a Jewish poet, artist, and environmentalist, is a modern example. This book, The Giving Tree, touched countless hearts with its message as well as its illustration, from children to adults alike. It reminds us that trees give so much of what we need, from shade to relax in, to fruit we enjoy, to wood we use for building, to paper itself. When we gather in the sanctuary for services, trees actually help us open our mind. The prayer book that you hold in your hands was once part of a tree. Most of the time it's called a siddur because it lays out the order of prayers. But during the High Holy Days, we call this special prayer book a machzor, which means cycle or return, because we return to these services every year. And while I'm certainly a proponent of technology like the visual prayer books we use in the sanctuary, I've always loved the feel of having a book in my hands. There's something to be said about letters that we can touch and pages that we can feel. Long ago, before prayers were written in manuscripts or printed, every prayer was recited by heart. But when Jews began to disperse around the world, it became necessary to write these prayers down to ensure their accuracy. If you look at the screen now, our tech crew will show a picture of the oldest surviving prayer book, which dates to the 9th century. Both the parchment as well as the handwriting are beautiful. Prayer books help us think, feel, and wonder. They include blessings of joy, gratitude, and memory, and prayers of hope, need, and anticipation. They also bear witness to the challenges and opportunities we experience in life, and they remind us about the importance of gathering as a community. Since biblical times, the image of trees has been used as a metaphor for human beings. The prophet Jeremiah taught that the righteous person, or tzaddik, is like a tree planted by the waters, while the psalmist King David compared the righteous with thriving palm trees and strong, tall cedars. Even our Torah, our holiest text, is likened to a tree, as it's often called an Eitz Chaim, a tree of life. It's also a popular name for synagogues. This idea has its genesis in the Garden of Eden story. After filling the garden with trees that are pleasant to the eyes and good for eating, God tells Adam and Eve about two particular trees, the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. The first couple were free to eat from any tree in the garden except for the tree of knowledge. Later in the book of Proverbs, we learn about the other tree, which is now called Torah. Eitz Chaim hi lemachazikim ba. We sing these words at the end of each Torah service. It's a tree of life to those who hold Torah's wisdoms fast. All of her paths lead to peace. Now, at some point during our childhood, we probably learned how to determine the age of a tree. We do this by counting its rings, the concentric circles that are found within the tree. In a moment, our tech crew, thank you, will display a picture of a cross-section of a tree. Now, starting from the middle, or first year of growth, an additional layer of wood is added to the tree every year. The rings start out very small, and over time they get bigger. The newest growth, called the phloem, is always found just inside the outer bark. At first, the new growth tends to have a lighter shade. As the year progresses, the shade of the wood darkens, and typically by the end of the summer, the color is set. And while I'm no arborist, it's clear from the picture that every year tells a different story. Looking at the center of the tree, which is called the heartwood, you'll notice that the patterns always change. In certain years, the rings look wider, perhaps indicating an abundance of rainfall, while other rings look narrower, perhaps indicating drier years. And since most trees live for many decades, there can be evidence of scarring from a traumatic event, like a forest fire, which is usually indicated by a dark mark set apart from the rings, like the one in the cross-section. Trees are a mirror of human growth. Every year, as the heat of summer begins to wane, we gather on Rosh Hashanah to enter this season of reflection. Each year we gather represents a new ring of growth, our individual as well as collective experiences of the past 12 months. Tomorrow's Torah reading, the binding of Isaac, speaks directly to the importance of this. In his book, Voices from Genesis, a rabbi named Norman Cohen writes, from the very start of his journey to Israel, God told Abraham that his identity would be defined by the nation that he and his wife Sarah would create, a group where people felt part of something greater than themselves, with the promise that a unique destiny would set them apart. One of Abraham and Sarah's great strengths was their ability to welcome anyone who believed in God to be part of the community, the Israelites. This in turn helped people feel that they belonged to something meaningful, which is so important in life. But beyond that, Abraham and Sarah advocated for people even outside of their group. After a powerful king from the east conquered Sodom and Gomorrah, 2 cities by the Dead Sea, his fighters took the city's wealth with them. Upon hearing this, Abraham knew he had to act. With a small group, Abraham pursued the fighters all the way to Damascus, about 25 miles away, and defeated them. When the king told Abraham to keep the spoils, the possessions that he had won back, Abraham refused, saying, I can't think of taking anything that doesn't rightfully belong to me and my people. I won't keep a single thread that belongs to them. Now that's Menschlichkeit, or decency, for you. Later, Abraham's concern for others led him to advocate for Sodom and Gomorrah a second time, even after God told Abraham the cities would be destroyed due to their sins. He argued with God to save the cities if there were even 10 righteous people, a number that continues to serve as the basis for a minyan or prayer group. In other words, a community. We too can follow Abraham and Sarah's lead. During the High Holy Days, our Social Action Committee collects dry goods and packaged food in the bin that's found in the temple foyer. They're sent to the Gulf Coast Jewish Family Services to help those who need it most. Our congregation is also a partner with the Shepherd Center in Tarpon Springs, a faith-based organization that provides compassion, basic support, and assistance to families, vets, and the homeless. In June, we collected multiple bins of food and clothing to support their clients, and there'll be additional opportunities to volunteer or give later this year. And every fall, dozens of individuals from Ahavat Shalom help to maintain our beautiful surroundings by participating in the reverse tashlich beach cleanup. This environmental program called Tikkun Hayam, or Repair the Sea, was actually started here in Tampa by a local rabbi, Ed Rosenthal, who is working with college students at Eckerd. It's now taking place annually in over 250 locations on 6 continents. Here, instead of symbolically casting our sins or birdseed into the water, we pick up litter, off the beach. We'll be doing this on October 1st on Honeymoon Island. All these opportunities provide new growth to our lives and bring us together as a community. There's another powerful teaching that connects trees to our personal growth. Reb Zalman Schachter Shalomi, who founded the Jewish Renewal Movement, teaches our encounters with the outside world stimulate a new ring of experience on the tree of our lives. And our vital growing edge is the place where we are vulnerable and alive, where what happens on the outside affects each of us on the inside. Our nature, as mentioned, the Yiddish word for human beings, is to grow towards meaning and light, the way a tree grows toward the sun. Like trees which can bend in the wind without breaking, we too are blessed with great strength. But we also experience quieter moments where we can breathe and let the wind in, notice any places we feel resistance, and provide ourselves space to discover new insights. We can think of this as a personal Torah of trees. For centuries, sages have seen trees as a reflection of ourselves. Every year, a new ring of wood grows within the tree, just as every year we add precious new experiences to our lives. This season of reflection offers us the opportunity to look inward and celebrate this growth. And hopefully it inspires us to look outward to help others as well, both here in our community and beyond. In life, there are times that we're blessed with plenty, like trees that receive plentiful moisture. There are also times when we face adversity and challenges, like trees that are parched due to drought. Through it all, I have seen firsthand how our community is there to support one another, offer hope, and remind us that we are so resilient. Every year, trees continue to blossom, just as every year we add new growth and experience to the rich tapestry of our lives. This is our personal Torah of trees. Once upon a time, a small congregation in Indiana wrote a letter to Hebrew Union College, the Reformed Seminary. Dear President, would you kindly send the same rabbi with a different sermon? So here we are. Same rabbi, different sermon. May the new year, 5784, be filled with new experiences and personal growth. And may our trees of life continue to bloom for us, for our families, and our sacred community. Shana Tova. We are now going to continue with the words of the festival and Shabbat Kiddush, a blessing over the grape juice and wine, the fruit of the vine. If you turn to page 79 in your prayer books, beginning on the middle of the page, we'll raise the glass. Thank you, God, for bringing us to this season as we say L'chaim, to life. We'll continue with the blessing of bread. Any kids in the sanctuary who want to come forward and join us in the blessing? Got a beautiful round challah here. We got one taker, my son Avi. I left some grape juice for you.
You did?
I did. All right. Boy, chick.
All right.
Einu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. We'll continue now with the words of Elenu. It's my pleasure to call forward Rick and Elisa Katzeff to open the ark. Please rise. You'll find the words of Elenu, the adoration, on page 82. We'll continue on page 88, a reading called Effortless Affection. All last requests are granted, and this is mine. Grasp my affection in your hand and hold it there. Gather my affection into your heart and store it there. Draw my affection in simple lines in your mind and foster it, further it. Funnel it into all the coastal plains and lowlands where daily life and memory flow together. Let the river of affection rise and overflow. Let the grasses in the meadow near the river bend in the current where my love has flooded your land. You'll find the words to Mourner's Kaddish on page 90 as we think of individuals and families in the period of Shloshim, the first 30 days mourning a loved one. We remember Edith Seligman, mother of Robert Lou Patrick Seligman. Gabriel P. Caprio, father of Allison Schoenfeld, grandfather of Mia Schoenfeld. Bruce Goldstein, cousin of Edie Becker. And Ann Lewis, aunt of Marjorie Graff. We mark the ArtSite anniversary of passing of loved ones who died during the season in years past. We fondly remember Alan Allman, Sylvia Brandeis, Phyllis Cohen, Anita Cohen, Neil R. DeRemer, Bernice Epstein, Vera Fish, Arlene Gladstone, Gilbert Glenn, David Graff, King Haley, Paula Hickey, Helen Hills, Sharon Katz, Hyman Katz, Frida Levine, Newton Levy, Samuel Leibowitz, Harold Lipschultz, Lori Lubotsky, Morris Milhouse, Matthew Benjamin Mollet, Sydney Paykoff, Sarah Perlman, Rose Plevin, Jean Resnick, Bella Rosenblatt, Manny Scheidler, Selwyn Skolnick, Ruth Snell, Audrey Snyder, Howard Snyder, Alan Spector, Joseph Stremiello, Rhoda Wexler, and Robert Woolman. We, of course, think of the thousands of families who are dealing with various natural disasters who have lost loved ones. And if there are any other names that you'd like to add for a yard site at this time, please feel free. Yes.
Kelly Clark.
We rise as a congregation to offer the words of Mourner's Kaddish. Please join me. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, v'yalma divrach Yerutei v'yamlich malchutei, v'ayechon v'yomechon v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael, v'agalav v'zman kariv imru, amen. Yehei Shmei Rabbah mivarach le'alam u'lamei al-maya, yit barach v'yishtabach v'yit pa'ar v'yit ramam v'yit naseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shemei d'kudusha b'richu, v'elo ela mikol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran v'yalma v'imru, amen. Yehei Shlomo Rabba min Shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. Osei shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru, amen. May the one who causes peace in the heavens cause peace throughout the world, as we say, amen. Feel free to be seated. It's my pleasure at this time to call forward our immediate past president, Ed Marks, for an important message. Following that, Bill Ross will be sharing some brief announcements.
The High Holy Days are a time for reflection about the future, about what comes next. What will I do in the coming year? What are my goals with regard to retirement? How will my spouse and I spend our time now that the kids are off to college? Or even more significant, what will happen to everything if I should pass through the portal to eternal life in 5784? Stated differently, what if I croak this year? Will anyone remember me? I spent a good deal of my professional career as an attorney, helping people with their estate plans. And almost to a person, they wanted to see their life's efforts help lead to something permanent and meaningful. When I mentioned charitable gifts, 95% of the time, they wanted to talk more. They didn't bring it up, but if I brought it up, they wanted to talk more about it. Yes, this is a commercial. It's a commercial for the Gary Klein Lador Vador Endowment at Temple Ahavat Shalom. Here's the really quick description. We'd like everyone to make a commitment. It's a commitment that won't be carried out until after death. For example, Anita and I have put so many dollars aside in a trust, and it will be donated to the temple after the death of the second of us. That means we aren't going to be hurt during our lives. We will still get to use the income from that during our lives. We don't have a problem with that. And after our death, it will go to the temple. This thing can be done in a number of ways through a payable on death designation, on a stock certificate, a bond, a bank account. Other people have made the temple beneficiary of a life insurance policy. Sometime during the coming months, expect a call from either Ellen Weiss or me or one of the other volunteers on the committee. We'd just like to sit down with you, talk with you, and see what your wishes are, and if we can help you meet those wishes, meet that goal of having your name remembered after you're gone. If you'd like, just give me a call at home or leave a message at the temple office. The endowment is a permanent fund. I want to underscore this. We'll never touch the principal of that fund. It's a permanent fund. The income will be used to further the activities of Temple Ahavat Shalom. To remind you about the fund, there's a bookmark, or there will be a bookmark on your seat tomorrow, if it's not there tonight. Take it home as a reminder. Call the temple office, or call me, or call Ellen Weiss if you'd like to chat. That's the end of the commercial. Lashana Tova, Bill Ross.
Thank you, Ed. Good evening and Shana Tova to everybody. Many thanks to Rabbi Matt, Allison, and Joy, and our wonderful High Holiday Choir, leading a wonderful service, along with our tech team, Bruce Lowett and Saltave and Mike Adishabi on sound. Hope I didn't kill that too badly. Tomorrow's Rosh Hashanah morning service begins at 10 a.m. Our family service begins at 2 p.m. Following the family service, Rabbi Matt will be leading a short, meaningful tashlik ceremony at the Dunedin Causeway. Park your cars by the High and Dry Grill on the left or south side of the road. We'll meet on the beach to symbolically cast away our sins. And then our reverse tashlik that the rabbi was talking about, cleanup will be at Honeymoon Island, led by our SAC committee on Sunday, October 1st. We'll meet here at the back of Temple at 11:30. For those interested in learning more about our congregational Israeli trip in June 24, please talk to Rabbi Matt or Kara in the front office. I went on one in the past, and it changed my life forever. Based upon that is when I and Mo Rothman converted. For those people help us support the Gulf Coast Jewish Family and Children's Services food drive. There's a collection box in the front foyer as you first come in that you can fill with the items that are needed. And I'm also pleased to announce that on Yom Kippur morning, our Rabbi Emeritus, Gary Klein, will be delivering the sermon. Shana Tova.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you, Bill. Bill and Maya Herman are the co-chairs of our Social Action Committee. We're also blessed to have a wonderful staff, Tabitha, Alex, and Kara, as well as Norm. We thank all of them for helping to create a warm and welcoming environment for all of us. Please rise as we turn to page 99, the closing words and benediction of our service. Yehi ratzon milfanecha Adonai Eloheinu ve'Elohei avotenu ve'imotenu shetchadesh aleinu shana tova umetuka. Our God and God of our ancestors, eternal God of all generations, may your presence in our lives this new year renew our spirits and renew our strength. May it be a good year. May it be a sweet year. Tekatev, Leshana Tova Tekatevu, Tekatevu. May we all be inscribed for a good, happy, healthy, and sweet new year. Good night.